și trecem atunci pe varianta englezească. Okay, so I can see that all of you already accessed the Google Sheet. This is going to be my sheet. And I'm planning to start with the forecasting of the revenues, the forecasting of the sales. I'm not 100% sure about your financial accounting knowledge. You should be proficient in accounting as far as I can imagine. So I don't really know if there's any need for me to go into details concerning the structure of the possible revenues from the accounting point of view. Maybe what is important to say is that at least from the statistical point of view, even though there are many types of revenues, again, from the accounting point of view within the accounting system. So if you are thinking about the accounts from the class 7, although there are many types of possible revenues, I would argue that there normally aren't good reasons for the total revenues for them to be formed of anything different or anything other than sales. If we look at the statistical data from practice, from Romania, but at the same time from all over the world, you would see that the value of the sales is normally about 91, 92, up to 95% of the total value of the revenues. So the revenues are made up 99 up to 95% of the revenues from the sales. The difference of 5, 6, 7% is, I would say, less important, especially for a startup, because it could be revenues from the sale of maybe old equipment. It should not be the case for us. Again, we're just starting. We should not plan. There's no reason for us to plan selling old equipment. Then there might be revenue from maybe differences in the exchange rate. But whenever you do a financial forecasting, you usually don't take into consideration inflation or changes in the exchange rate. So therefore, in a financial forecast, you should not, normally, in most of the cases, you shouldn't have any reason to forecast such revenues or such charges. So my point is that unless you have some special reasons, and I doubt that you will have, you should not really forecast other types of revenues than the ones from sales. And because all of us are planning to use subsidies to finance in part, of course, the investment, we will be forced to estimate the revenues from the subsidies. And of course, for those that are working in accounting, you probably know what this is about. The others, you will see that even if we are granted the subsidies within the implementation period, the revenues are going to be registered after the end of the implementation period, so during the operations. Once we start the operating activity, we start registering the depreciation charges, and with them, we start registering the revenues from the subsidies. We will talk about that today. So normally, I see no reason for you to estimate other types of revenues than the revenues from the sales and revenues from subsidies. In theory, you could estimate maybe the value of the products that you plan to produce during a year, but you don't plan to sell in the same year. again, if you don't have a good reason for forecasting them, in my opinion, we should not concern ourselves with that. Uh, you might imagine that inevitably you will have some money in the bank account, and logically you should obtain some interest for that. But the value of it should be so low that there's no point in taking it into consideration. So for most of you, if not for all of you, we are going to forecast the revenues from the sales and from the subsidies. However, in what concerns the revenue from sales, there we should do separate forecastings from the different types of products or services. Now, this is where we should really start. We have to figure out what we are selling. And this, of course, you will know from the way you have configured your operating cycle. Again, the operating cycle from the first and second chapter is important here. So for me, I was planning to produce apple juice. I don't know. Let's imagine at least two products, maybe apple juice. I I could maybe produce apple juice and maybe pear juice or something like that. Or I could also offer services. Let's say apple juice and pear juice. So I'm going to build a table. In a first stage, please participate with me in this. And once I finish the table, my suggestion will be for you to simply copy the sheet. So multiply the sheet and try to adjust the table for your own operating cycle. So at the end of this table, I will want to have the value of the revenues from selling apple juice. Now, what should be the time frame for the forecasting? As hopefully you have understood, we need in the end we need to get to the net operating cash flow. For what period? Well, really for the entire period, for the entire lifespan of the investment. Because as hopefully you have understood, we are trying to compare this net operating cash flow to the value of the investment to see if this indicator, the value of this yearly net operating cash flow, will allow us to recover the capital and to get a certain amount of return, the required return. So we really would need to do the forecasting for the entire lifespan of the investment. However, in many cases, that could mean maybe 50 years, maybe even more. No one does financial forecastings for 50 years, or almost no one. What we usually do in practice is to forecast the net operating cash flow for the first, in most of the cases, 5 years of operations, and we will use a simpler method to evaluate the cash flow for the remaining lifespan of the investment. So this is what we are going to do ourselves. We are going to do the forecasting for the first 5 years of operations. And this is how I'm going to build the table, the first table. Okay, measured in euros. Now again, I'm starting at the end. At the end of the table, I will want to be able to estimate the value of the sales. To get to the value of the sales, of course, you might say, okay, we need to estimate first the volume of the sales and the price. So let's write exactly that in the table. Measured in what? In boxes. 3-liter boxes. Bag-in-box bib. And the price. The price, we will get it from the previous chapter, from the price policy, where hopefully we have estimated it or planned it rather based on the forecasted costs, based on the prices of the competition, and at least based on the willingness to pay of the target market. So this is one hypothesis that I'm going to enter to input, and I'm going to mark it with in green. It could be of about let's say 4 euros, about 4. Now I'm gonna input the value for the first year, and I'm going to use the same value for the following years, which means that, as I was saying at the beginning, I'm only entering the value from the keyboard in the first year and I'm marking it in green. And for the following years, I'm using formulas because at a later time, you will see that I will try to do simulations. I'm going to come and change the price only here in the cell that I have marked in green. Please use the same logics throughout this entire chapter because you will need it later on. Now, why am I using the same price for the entire forecasting period? In most of the cases, most of the times, I mean in practice, all over the world, we do the forecastings in real prices. So prices without inflation. We are not trying to estimate inflation. So at least the prices will not change because of future inflation, of course, in our planning. So please do the same. Use this hypothesis. Usually at the beginning of this chapter, we present the major hypotheses that we have used within the forecasting. And usually one of them is this, that the entire forecasting is done in constant prices. By constant prices, we mean real prices, prices without inflation. Constant prices, in this case, doesn't mean necessarily prices that do not change. They can change. Constant in the sense that they are not being changed by inflation. They can change for other reasons, but usually we don't find other reasons. So usually we plan for the price to stay the same throughout the explicit forecasting period. So this is what I have done here. Of course, the value of the sales will be the product between the volume of the sales and the price. And again, the price should be based on our price policy. As for the volume of the sales, unfortunately, for sure, there will be many factors that will mark the volume of the sales. One of them would be the production capacity, because as of now, if I were thinking about selling apple juice, I would have no way of selling any of my own products because I don't have any type of production capacity, or rather my production capacity is zero. So because of that, of course, the production capacity would be a major factor. At its turn, the production capacity, depending on, of course, the business idea, the field of activity, would be influenced on one hand by the technical infrastructure, by that meaning again, land, buildings, equipment with their own production capacity, on one hand. On another hand, the production capacity might be influenced by the labor force, number of employees, their productivity. In other fields, the quality of the raw materials could be very important, again, for the production capacity. When I say production capacity, I mean the maximum volume of production that I would be able to obtain within 1 year. So the maximum value, the potential. Okay. We should know our production capacity because, of course, when we plan the investment, we plan it in such a way that it would ensure us, it would bring us a certain production capacity. So let's say that for me, I imagined a production line of, I think it was 500 liters of juice per hour. So I will start from here. Hourly production capacity measured in liters. And if you remember my simulation for producing juice and for packing it in this system, the bag-in-box system, I needed several types of equipment, but the most important one was the press. And it was the press that was the most limiting equipment within the production line. And the press that I took into consideration when I did my budget was one with a production capacity of 500 liters, or if you want, with a processing capacity of 1,000 kilos of fruit per hour. So I'm going to input the value of the production capacity for the first year, marking it again in green, 500 liters. And I don't plan to change this production capacity throughout the forecasting period, which is why I'm careful about linking the cells all the way to the first cell that I colored in green. Again, I will want to do simulations later on. So if this is my hourly production capacity, now, of course, I need to see how many hours of production I have available within 1 year. So let's start maybe from the numbers, the number of days, of working days. So a year has 365 days. I'm extracting the weekends, not, of course, if I don't plan to work the weekends. Some of you might also need to plan working throughout the weekend period. But for me, I'm taking out the weekends, and as the year has 52 weeks, it's 52 weeks times 2 days of weekend. I'm also taking out the 3 days, the national holidays, and from 1 year to the other, it may vary, but let's just imagine that they are about 15. And I am at 246 days. I'm keeping this number throughout the entire forecasting horizon. Now, I need the number of working hours per day. My program could be of only one shift per day, 8 hours. Again, some of you might be planning to work in 2 or 3 shifts. Daily scale. Hours, although I might be more interested in the production schedule, which will not be, of course, of 8 hours because I also need time to wash the equipment at the beginning and at the end of the day. There are all sorts of other operations. So let's just say production schedule. Let's make it 4 hours. I know it could be more. Now, with these 3 factors, I think I can calculate the yearly capacity, production capacity. So it would be 500 liters times 246 days times 4 hours a day. Now, as you can see, I'm not coloring this in green. It's not something that I inputted from my keyboard. It's something that I have calculated based on these 3 hypotheses. So again, this is the production capacity measured in liters. Now, maybe I should also calculate it, estimate it in boxes. 3-liter boxes. Simply this divided by 3. And I now have my production capacity. Now, listen, before doing the investment, as I was saying, I'm not able to sell anything from my own production because my production capacity is 0 right now. So by implementing the investment, I'm going to create this production capacity. So I would be able, at least from the technical point of view, based on the infrastructure that I would be having, I would be able to produce this amount of, juice boxes. I would be able to produce them. Again, just based on the technical infrastructure. I'm not taking into consideration right now the human infrastructure, which in many cases is so important and constitutes the limit rather than the technical infrastructure. And maybe most importantly, I'm still not taking into consideration the demand from the market. Not yet. So, obviously, the human infrastructure, the human side of the capacity could be very important. And obviously, the demand from the side of the market is very important because even if we are able to produce 164,000 boxes per year, if we are only able to sell maybe 50,000, the sales are going to be of 50,000. We can sell more than the market demands from us. So I will introduce another line here, market demand, again measured in boxes. Now, honestly, the estimation of the market demand is for sure the most difficult part. I mean, it's not difficult to come up with a number. It's difficult to make sure that that number is accurate, at least sufficiently enough. So hopefully we can base this value on the market planning, because in the end, the market planning, the marketing mix, the market strategy should be targeting this level of demand. We are doing the promotion, we are establishing the prices, we are configuring the product policy, all to get to a certain objective in terms of sales. So there, when we do the market planning, we should always target a certain amount of sales. That value of the demand that we are trying to obtain through the marketing strategy, we should bring it here on this line. So let's just say in my case that for the first year, I hope to be able to attract a demand for, I don't know, let's say 50,000 boxes. And hopefully, during the following years, we would be able to increase this demand. So let's say that I simply put here a growth index. And I would imagine that, well, I'm targeting to increase the demand for the second year, maybe with a growth index of 130%. So let's see. If the production capacity would be of 164,000, and the market demand would be of only 50,000, you could imagine that, of course, even though we would be able to produce 164, we can't sell more than 50,000. That's our demand. So we sell 50,000. So I would estimate the volume of the sales as the minimum between the two. I'm using the min function between these two values, the production capacity and the market demand. Can you hear me? Because I'm afraid I have lost connection.
Yes.
Okay, now I believe my internet is working correctly. Or not. I don't know if the internet is working. I don't really know why I'm having trouble with the Google Sheet. Is it the same for you? If you try to change something in the Google Sheet, does it work?
Yes, it works.
Okay, I don't know why I'm having these problems, so let's leave it for a second. Maybe I should try to access it again. Just give me 1 second. Okay, now it seems to be working. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen again. So I was saying that I'm using the min function, which always calculates the minimum value between these two, the production capacity and the demand from the part of the market. Now, as I was saying, for sure there could be other factors that could limit the volume of the sales. It could be the human side of the capacity. I know many companies that have a lot of demand from the part of the market, that have the space, the production hall, they have the equipment, that have raw materials, but they aren't able to employ the necessary staff to produce at the maximum capacity, given, of course, by the equipment. In other cases, the access to raw materials could be a problem. In other cases, I would say in many cases, the financing of the working capital can be a problem, or rather of the working capital requirement, because the operating cycle generates financing needs under the form of inventories and usually also receivables. So if I plan to produce apple juice, I would probably always need to have in my warehouse apples, but at the same time, in order to have a continuity in the sales, I will always need to have finished goods in my warehouse. If I'm selling to other companies such as supermarkets, I will probably also be forced to accept granting trade loans, which means that I will have at basically any time, any moment, receivables to collect. So inventories, receivables would be imposed by my operating cycle, and to have them would also require to finance them from something. So sometimes increasing the volume of production and sales means increasing the volume of the inventories and of the receivables. And doing so requires additional financing sources. And many companies don't have them, which is why they are forced to, let's say, temper their growth. Uh, I don't want to complicate things, so I'm not going to take that into account. I'm thinking that if we take into consideration the technical side of the production capacity, ensured through the implementation of the investment on one hand, and the market demand, hopefully generated through our marketing strategy on the other hand, that should be enough. Honestly, it's more than it's being done in many cases in practice. So I would not feel ashamed with such a perspective within the feasibility study. Okay, now I think I'm getting close to finishing the table. I just want to simulate one more thing. Let's see what's the percentage of usage for the production capacity. So the production volume, which in our simulation is equal to the volume of the sales over the production capacity. Okay, now this, in my opinion, is quite acceptable, natural in most of the cases. What would be strange to see? It would be strange to see that you are planning to use your production capacity at 100% from the first year, because I really can't imagine a scenario in which this would be possible. I mean, you finish the implementation of the investment. You need time to adjust to using the equipment. And most importantly, in I would say most of the cases, you will need even more time to establish yourself on the market and to be able to attract demand. So it would make no sense to plan for a percentage for a rate of 100% of usage for the capacity from the first year, at least because of that. On the other hand, when you do the investment, I would imagine that you plan it for a longer period of time. You don't do investments of development each year, which is why it would be only normal to target to get to usage of the production capacity maybe in something like 5 years. So starting with 100% would be, I would say again, impossible. On the other hand, continuing with 30% up until the end would also be strange. I mean, if you plan for the entire period to use the production capacity only at 30%, maybe you should lower the production capacity from the beginning. I mean, why buy a production line that is able to produce 500 liters of juice per hour if I'm never going to produce more than 200? Of course, you can argue that you are only producing in some days, other days you're not producing, so that could be explained. But again, normally I would imagine such an evolution, starting from something like 30% and going to somewhere around the 90%. Because even at the end of our forecasting period, it would be hard to imagine that we can get to 100% usage of the technical capacity. So this is what I would normally expect from you as well, such an evolution, such a growth of the usage rate. If you see it differently, please explain it. Please make sure that you explain the reasons for which things are different in your case. So again, the purpose of this table was to forecast, or rather to plan the value of the sales of apple juice, right? And we based the forecasting of the sales, as you can see, on the forecasted demand from the part of the market and on the production capacity that we are creating through the investment. So that's it. try to do the same in your case, or listen, before doing so, some of you, of course, have more than one product. Maybe you have a restaurant. Maybe you have 20, 30, 40 products. Maybe there are so many of them that you can't even specify them in detail. I mean, I can imagine someone with a restaurant planning to change the types of food that he or she is selling based on the demands changing on the market. So I would have no problem in creating maybe categories, create maybe 3 or 4 groups based on maybe the differences between the products or the services. And in one group, you could put maybe, who knows, 5, 10 different, 10 products, but products that are significantly similar in terms of their market and maybe in particular in terms of selling prices. And from that point on, just create a table for each category, for each group.
In my case, I'm still with the 3D printing, but I've went towards a niche idea about dental services. So here there are, of course, different types of products with different types of prices related to what we can print, from crowns to surgical aids and guides. But the idea is pretty much the same. I would use a type of resin that would then just be transformed into a product. How about if I would just estimate the average price for the volume and still think about selling in terms of volume?
I would rather you would do the way I suggested at the beginning. I had a project like that in the past, although it was quite a few years ago. So I did a feasibility study for a company that was doing exactly what you are doing for the dental industry, and this is what I'm suggesting: create 3 or 4 important different categories of products and try to estimate the volume of orders for each type of product, and imagine an average price for each type of product. And of course, you should correlate that to the market analysis and marketing strategy. And
Right.
from that point on, you just copy the table. Create a table for each type of product, for each category of product. Now, first thing, each of you please duplicate my sheet. So create your own sheet exactly like that and name it after you. And at the same time, please one second, protect the sheet, and that way it would be only you and me that are going to have access to it. Right, so once you have a duplicate of the sheet, you click on the tab and you protect the sheet. Right. So the others, please do the same. Ramona Popescu, my suggestion was for you to copy my my sheet with the table and try to change it later. Of course, you can create it from the beginning if you want to. I have no problem with that. I just thought it might have been easier.
Okay, I'll try to do that. Thank you.
Okay, or it's not that hard. Let me help you. I can copy the table separately. There shouldn't be any problems. Now, of course, for those of you that are into services, the factors could be different. Adapt the table to your own needs. Okay, so Adrian, you said crowns, surgical guides, aligner models, and temporary restorations. Okay. Now, to simplify things, maybe you should, because you're probably using the same equipment for all of them. So this means that the products, the categories are in competition for the same production capacity. Maybe to simplify things, you should just imagine that you divide equally the production capacity between the four.
Would it actually make sense? For example, I'm not expecting just as I could put the same capacity into any of them, right? Even though I have just one equipment, or yeah.
But this would mean that you divide the total capacity by 4. It would be the simplest way to do it, honestly, and in my opinion, for us, it would be enough.
Right.
I'm not sure, but I imagine that in this case as well, you can judge it by the hour.
Yeah, it's still weird. I'm still thinking about a bit about how to actually do it, in the sense that the capacity is based on 2 things. It's based on volume, the volume that you print, and it's also based on the human resource that we have available that would actually need to bring certain changes to the models that are being printed. For example, in the
case, on one hand, the people are there, I would imagine, 8 hours a day.
Pretty much.
That's for the human resources.
Yeah.
As for the equipment, as you said, the volume. Okay, the volume. You can imagine an average volume for each type of for each of these 4 types of products. So automatically, you know the time that you would need for one piece. Of course, an estimation.
Yeah, this is why I'm saying that it does vary a bit, and I'm still trying to figure out a proper algorithm for it. Because, for example, I can print. I can talk about printing only crowns, for example, right? And I would have filled up my volume, and then I would have a certain time to print them, which would mean that I would need to bundle all the crown orders that I get into a single print. Or I can think about, okay, I've got 10 crowns today, I need to print them so that I can deliver them tomorrow, which would actually waste a lot of time. Or just bundle it in the sense that I can print on layers, and I can print 1 layer of crowns and 1 layer of surgical guides, if material allows, of course.
Listen, I understand, but there's no reason for us to complicate things, because of course this is not the most important factor in what we are doing, which is why my suggestion is to just divide it by 4, the capacity.
Okay,
and then of course we have a lower volume of crowns, but of course the time required for 1 crown could be higher than the time for another type of product.
Yeah, I get it then. Thank you for the clarification.
So Bogdan, the revenue is here what? The revenue comes from car washing services, right? It
Yes.
should be that. Now, I'm not really sure whether in this case we should start from the capacity, but we could. How many stations do you have there?
It's 4 stations. And
So you can have a maximum of 4 cars at the same time for washing
Yes.
services.
washing services.
You could estimate the duration, the average. Of course, it depends from one car to the other what types of services they want, but we can imagine an average.
Yes.
And on average, I don't really know.
It's
I don't.
between 5 and 7 minutes.
So
If it's only
let's simply say then
10 minutes.
10 minutes. All right.
10
Let's say
minutes
10 minutes.
and yeah. 10
So that
minutes.
would mean that per hour we can do how many cars?
24
6 cars
cars.
by station times 4, it's 24.
Yes.
So the hourly washing capacity would be of 24, not of 10. Right?
Right.
Okay, you have the number of days. I don't see why it would be limited as in my case, because you don't need to have employees there. So it could be 365.
I
Unless
imagine, let's say, a week less, maybe for some maintenance.
Exactly. That was what I was thinking as well.
So
So maybe you
350.
can just say 350. Let's say 350.
Yes. 350.
Now, for sure, in your case, the percentage of usage would be much, much less because, yes, we are estimating their 24-hour schedule, but of course that during the
That's
night,
feasible, yes.
the usage would be very, very low. So you can say 24 hours, but automatically the demand would be much lower than the capacity. It would only be normal.
Yeah. So I can put 24.
Yes, I think you can say 24 at the daily capacity, but change maybe there. It's not daily production, it's daily simply daily schedule or something like that.
Daily schedule, yes. Number here, production capacity.
Yearly capacity, because it's not production, and it would be measured in number of cars.
Number of cars. Number of cars.
Yes, of course, you could have also estimated the capacity in minutes, thinking that it doesn't matter whether a car stays there for 5 minutes or 15, but I think with the number of cars that could be more intuitive and you could link it easier to the market analysis. So yearly, just take out the word production because of course that's not the case. You don't have any production there. So yearly capacity, simply put.
And that you assume here production.
And you can eliminate the
Yes.
next row because of course for me it was necessary to transform the liters into boxes. Maybe you should no problem. And now just correct the volume of the sales. So the market demand, of course, also measured in the number of cars. Now, here for the volume of the sales, this would be the minimum value between what? Between the capacity and the market demand. So like this. There you go. And for the price, if we imagine that it takes on average 10 minutes for a car, usually a coin is for
5 lei, €1.
it's 5 lei, but for how much time?
120 seconds, which is 2 minutes.
2 minutes. So you need 5 coins. So it's 5 coins times 5 lei. That much? Is it that much?
Yes, yes.
So
And
25 lei the price. Okay. So
yes,
it's 25.
25.
I'm sorry. That means 5 euros.
5
because-
euros, yes.
Yes, 5 euros. So put there 5 instead of 4. Okay. And the capacity, the percentage of usage would be volume over the capacity. Now, honestly, I would imagine it being a lot lower because
Yeah, for
I
sure.
can't
because,
imagine in the last year having a 70% usage throughout a 24-hour
hours,
schedule.
yeah,
I would imagine it being maybe closer to
to 50%.
not even 50%, honestly, because during the night,
Yeah.
probably almost anyone
Also
comes in
the
and watch the car.
seasonality when it's cold
There's
and raining
seasonality, of
outside.
course, so maybe it could be up to 30%. Even 30% is, of course, a lot.
Mhm.
So maybe somewhere between 20 and 30% in the last year. So that would mean that we could start from, let's see what happens if we start at 10%. So 20,000 cars, we would reach 28%.
Now it seems more likable, feasible. So.
Might be. We are going to play with it later on when you also have the expenses. So we are going to come back to do simulations. Let's leave it like that for the time being.
Okay, so I will also in the table below. I will.
Yes, do the same. Connect. The table below has what? What? Waxing?
Yes. So maybe it would be easier not to incorporate this and
No. Yes. That's
to
what
make
I'm
only one
thinking.
table.
But maybe if you want to, maybe because I would imagine that someone comes, washes the car, waxes it or not. That could be included in the
Yeah, and you also
first
do.
table.
Yeah, it's
But
way more simple to include it in the first table.
yes, but what usually people might or might not do separately would be vacuuming the cars.
Yes,
You also
vacuuming the
have
car.
vacuum
Yes.
stations, right?
Yes.
So maybe that is what you could do with the second table.
Yeah. Okay. So
But what I would do in your place would be to start in the second table. I would make it more simple. See, I would start from the already estimated number of cars for the washing services because I would
yeah,
dare to imagine that
maybe less
almost
than
no one comes only
50%.
for the
Yeah.
vacuuming.
Maybe less than 50% who are watching their car only also
Exactly.
vacuums it. So, yeah.
Exactly.
So
So I
I'll
would
start with
simply start from the
10,000.
number of
Yeah.
cars from the washing services and apply, as you have said, maybe 50% or a bit less to obtain the number of cars that come for the vacuuming services.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay.
So I would
Okay.
do a table in a more simple manner.
Okay.
And there,
Thank
the
you.
price, I don't know, for vacuuming,
It's the
how much
same.
time do they need? Maybe up to 5 minutes.
Yeah. Tops two coins. So yeah, tops €2.
Okay, let's imagine two coins.
Yeah, €2.
So
Yeah.
4 minutes, 2 coins, 2 euros.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Of course. Okay, Ramona Popescu. So you have the capacity within the bungalows, 20 places, I would imagine. These are persons.
Persons, yes.
Number of working days, 340. Would it not be open to the public for the entire duration of the year?
Yes, I thought that probably maintenance period or holidays or I don't know, some, yes, that's what I thought that it would not
Okay,
be.
it's up to you. You can plan it the way you want to. Okay, daily service schedule.
Yes,
What
it
does
should
that mean?
be one service per day because you can, I'm not sure.
Okay, I don't know if you need to keep the row, but fine, whatever. So yearly capacity, of course, it's not production. Yearly capacity.
Oh, just a second. Let me open to. Also, just capacity without the production.
Of course, you're not producing anything. It's
Yes, but I'm not sure this is the right one because I'm not sure I understand the yearly capacity. It's
how well you can measure it in people that you can have there
okay.
in your infrastructure, or nights, rather nights. Usually, they are being measured in nights, number of people times nights. So if it's 20 places at a time times 340, that should be your capacity, which is what you have done. Okay, so the fifth row can disappear from here. Here you can estimate the market demand.
I should leave it like this or
1 second. So production capacity, but where's the market demand? So I believe you
I
deleted
think I
the
deleted it before. I'm not
row
sure.
with the market demand. Let's put it back. And we can delete this one here. Okay. Now the volume of, well, the number of actual guests will be the minimum between the capacity and the demand. The price is 60 euros. And for the percentage of occupancy, I don't know. I have done studies in the past for the hotel industry, but this is a bit different. For hotels in Timișoara, usually I have seen occupancy rates of 80, 85, 90%, close to 100%. But I would
Yes.
imagine that in this case, the seasonality is very important, which
Yes,
is why
normally the campings in summer they are 100% during vacations, holidays, and the children holidays. Of course, the holidays during Easter and most of the cases it's only on weekends.
So is it worth keeping them open during the off season? So are we planning to keep them open for the entire duration of the year? It's just if you do so, we should imagine an occupancy rate of, in any case, a much lower level. If
Well,
we
yes, I thought
reduce
about it.
the number of working days, then it would be different. But I would suggest we keep it like this. It would be simpler for you in any case. And we reduce the
Growing.
overall, maybe even here, the starting point. Of course, you are going to play a bit with them later on, but maybe this could be a good place to start.
Okay, then I was thinking about creating for each of the services.
Exactly. Yes, just copy the table and adjust it for the other services.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Of course. Okay, Georgiana,
Yes.
I'm not really sure how to read the words kvass and kombucha.
Da, yes, kombucha and kvass. Kvass, it's something beetroot, sfeclă roșie.
Okay.
Probiotic from beetroot, named kvass.
Okay, I get it. So
The kombucha is tea fermented.
it's a tea. So for the production capacity, would it? I would imagine that it's not measured in liters. What would be? What would it be measured in?
In the liters. 1 second. In the project, I think 100 per month, I think.
Yes, but 100 what?
A liter.
What's the measurement unit?
Liter.
Oh, is it liters? Okay.
Yes. It's something to drink, so yes.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay. I get it now. So it is in liters, and the hourly production capacity then is it 300 per day per hour? I'm sorry.
Per
That
hour.
much?
Mm.
I don't even know whether you should estimate it by the hour. What's the duration of the production process? Is it longer than an hour?
Yes, it is.
But less
5
than a day?
hours. 5 hours. 5 hours.
So maybe we should just start from the daily production capacity.
Okay.
I think it would be better.
Okay. So I will edit here daily. Good. I think your microphone is on mute.
Sorry about that. I was asking
Worries.
how many. You can hear me right now, right?
Yes, yeah.
I was trying to ask you what would be the real production capacity, of course, in accordance with the investment that you had in mind. Is it really 300 liters? Is that the maximum amount that you can produce in one day?
I think can be higher than.
And then specify what it is. The maximum amount that you can produce in one day. That's your capacity.
One day. 1 second. 500.
Okay, 500. 500. The number of working days, you said 248. Okay, 248. We are not really interested in the number of hours
Okay.
per day anymore because we started from the daily production capacity. So the yearly production capacity would be the number of working days times the daily production capacity. So we are done with that as well. Now, the one expressed in my case in bagging boxes, that's not of importance, but for you, in what quantities does your product sell? Are you selling it by the liter?
No, not the liter. 500 milliliter.
Then let's estimate it like this. Okay. So that would mean times 2. Okay. Just look for a second on my screen, please.
Yes.
If you see here, you
Yeah.
did not link the values to the value from the green cells, which is why they don't change. So be careful to always link them
Okay.
when, of course, that's the case.
Okay.
Okay, so now it works. We have our production capacity of 248,000 units. Now the market demand number of units of 500 milliliter units. Let's imagine that it's somewhere around half or a third, as in my case. Say 40,000 for the first year. Okay, 80,000.
Okay.
And the price, the selling price, what is it?
4 euro.
4 euros. Okay. Okay, now that's it. You will do simulations later on, but
Yes.
for the time
Okay.
being, it's
Okay.
okay. And
Thank you.
my suggestion is to do the same for the
Yes.
kombucha.
Okay. Thank you.
Adrian, did you finish?
Yes, close to it. I was just looking over to erase the unnecessary
Rows. Okay,
column because I'm not actually dividing my production by 3. So I need to. I'm just going to fix it like this.
Okay.
So yeah. All right. Yeah, I should be pretty much finished, I think.
Yes, I believe you are. Okay. So we are going to stop here for today. We have a break of, I don't even remember, 2 or 3 weeks. It could be 3 weeks.
Yeah, 9th of May, with the next meeting.
So it's going to be a long time. We are going to forget everything we've talked
No,
about.
we have time to prepare.
It would be great if you would take the time to maybe change, maybe improve what you have done so far. And in May, when we are going to see each other again, we are going to continue. Well, we are going to finish the forecasting of the charges. When we do the forecasting of the charges, we will see. When we forecast the depreciation charges, we will come back to the revenues, and only then will we be able to estimate the revenues from subsidies. You will see why. So on the 9th of May, then we are going to finish the financial forecasting. And this is our 5th meeting, right? The one from today, I believe, is the 5th one. So on the 6th one, we are going to finish with the financial forecasting. And on our last meeting, we are going to talk about the financial analysis based on the budget and based on the financial forecastings. Okay. So from my point of view, this is it for today. If you have any other questions, please go ahead.
Can you check, please, my my table? Good luck.
Yes,
or
of
not.
course. Of course, in a moment. Part
this-
build
Average. So it's
what for
CNC
build?
part build. CNC machining.
Parts. You mean
Part.
pieces? You mean products in the end, right?
Yes. Product.
Parts. So it's
Parts.
parts. So it's parts built. You mean built? Is this what you mean?
Yes.
Parts build. Okay.
So I'm assuming for each of the project you need a time for setup. Then you need the number of samples that are built. It's an average pieces per each setup. So somewhere around 100 parts for each settings. Then you need the number of hours per piece. So each part of the 100 parts built by the program done in 18 hours would take 5 hours in average.
Okay, just give me a second to process this. So you take a new project and you imagine that within one project, on average, you will have to produce 100 pieces.
Yes.
Am I getting this right?
Yes.
So you estimate that on average you would need 80 hours to set up the project.
Yes.
Then to produce the actual 100 pieces, it takes you 5 hours per piece.
Correct.
So a total of 580 hours per project.
Yes, but there
Then
is also maintenance.
Okay. Then you say number of projects per year, 8
Yes.
projects. This is an estimation of the demand, or what is this? What is this? Maintenance after each project, 40 hours. So you basically need 620 hours per project, not 628, because
Yeah, I think I summed also the
so
numbers.
this shouldn't be here, in my opinion. I
Yes.
should
Okay. Yeah.
delete this. Now
Correct. Yeah.
the time, this is really the time for one project.
I think this needs to be.
So this is not the production capacity, this is the time. Time required per project measured in hours. Now we can estimate the time available. You say number of working days, daily production schedule, and you calculate the yearly production time. Say time, which is this, right? So this is the time that we have. This is the time that we need for one project. So now we can estimate the capacity, yearly production capacity measured in projects, of course, average projects. We could measure it directly in parts. Yes, and I'm going to say the time available over the time required for one project. So now I have the number of projects that we can do in 1 year. And now I'm multiplying the time, the number of projects, I'm sorry, by the number of parts per project. So this should be our production capacity in pieces. Now we have the market demand.
But the market demand should be according to the number of parts. I'm assuming a little bit smaller.
Of course, we will play with it in a moment. Growth index, volume of sales, parts, of course, the price 500.
Theoretically, the number of parts produced are the number of parts ordered for this kind of CNC machining. Maybe some scrap as well. So like
Okay. The way we have estimated everything, the demand would be always much higher than the production capacity. Would you say that this production capacity is accurate? Is it accurate what we've done here?
yeah, that's
Okay.
that's accurate. But I'm thinking now that if it's requested, you are considering something extra to cover the demand completely, as it contractual? So they are paying for 100 parts, they're not paying less, not paying more. So this means I need to produce more. If there are some parts that do not meet the necessary performance, they will be scrapped and other parts will be shipped. So those parts are also part of the production capacity.
They consume time, so the time would be
Yes.
longer. This is what you mean.
Yes, exactly.
Well, if you know this to be correct, then simply increase the time required for on average for one part. And we should be good, right?
I would increase rather that the order would be only of 90 parts, and we calculate for 90 parts from 100, or a certain percentage from the 100 pieces that are done.
Well, you can do that
From
as
here.
well, but honestly, I don't see any reasons, because if in the end we estimate that an average order is of 100,
Okay.
I see no problem with that. It's only that on average it takes more for you to process it, because as you have said, you will also have faulty pieces that you have to redo. So I would simply change the time used on average for one piece from 5 to whatever, 5.5 or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, agreed.
Of course, this will decrease your production capacity, let's say, to 441. So maybe the demand, maybe we shouldn't be that optimistic concerning the demand. Because if you really believe the demand to be that high, maybe I'm just saying, maybe we should do a greater investment with a greater production capacity to be able to meet the demand. So what if the demand would have been of only, let's say, 300 for the first year? Or something like that. Of course, you will, as I said, you will play with it. You will do simulations later on. Okay. Any other questions?
No, clear.
Great. Okay, so thank you for your involvement, for your patience, and I'll see you on the 9th of May. If you should be working at your, and I hope you will be working at your projects, please don't hesitate to write me. You have my email, of course.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Okay.
evening.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
evening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.